In this tutorial I'll be showing you how to make my Darcy Rose. It's a very simple rose to make. It's basically my standard Novella rose with a single leaf attached, and if you've seen any of my other tutorials or you've made any of my other flowers, then this should be a very simple rose for you. But if you're a beginner, you might need to make one or two before you perfect your technique. So the equipment that you'll need to make this rose: you'll need an old book, any book will do. You'll also need to download my standard template, and you'll be needing to use petal template number 1 and leaf template number 1. You can access the download for this by going to my video description, where there's a link, and if you download that to your computer and print it off at 100% in black and white, it will be exactly the right size. And from this you can cut your templates from any old scrap pieces of paper. You'll also need a small piece of green coloured paper for the leaves, or you can choose any colour for the leaves that you like. But today I will be using this olive. Now I usually like to use the Canford Daler Rowney paper for the leaves, but you can use any paper that's convenient for you. Glue wise, I use a combination of regular PVA craft glue, high tack glue and wallpaper paste. I tend to mix up a small pot of wallpaper paste, and the link to mix this up is in the video description. The rest of the equipment that you'll need, well, you will need a pair of scissors. You will need some regular sewing thread. I just tend to use a white thread. You'll also need some florist tape to bind the stem. This is in a dark green, but you can also get light green and various other colours as well. For the stem, I tend to use these wooden bamboo kebab sticks. They're ideal. They're not too thick, they're not too long, and you can always trim them down before you start with a pair of garden shears. If you don't have these wooden kebab sticks, you can use a garden stick. This just comes from a garden centre. And some craft shops will also sell wooden sticks of various lengths as well. If you don't have access to these, you can use a length of wire. This is Oasis Floral wire, and I don't tend to use these for my single stem roses, mostly because they're a little bit fiddly, but they're ideal for using if you're going to make a big floral arrangement. The other alternative is you could use a green pipe cleaner. Now these are quite bendy, they're not great, but you know, if that's all you can find, that's perfectly fine, especially for your practice roses. So the first thing that we want to do is to cut out our petals from our old book. And what I'll normally do is I'll tear 4 pages . If you hold the top of the book firmly, you can just tear all 4 pages together. We'll take our 4 pages, make sure they're nicely aligned, and we'll just fold them in half. And then take your petal template, hold it up to the writing, and simply cut around it. Each cut will give us 8 petals, and we only need 21 petals to make this rose, but I do always like to have a few spare. So we just need to cut 3 times. Now it doesn't matter if your petals are slightly larger than the template. Once all of your petals are cut, what I like to do is lay them out in front of me in 3 rows of 6 petals with 2 extra to the right hand side and all of the spares to the left. If you come across any that have no writing on one side but text on the other, you can put the blank side to the bottom or put it in your spares pile. Try not to have any with a blank side on the bottom row, because that can affect the finished result of the rose. I'll switch that one out because I've got plenty of petals here. So take one of the petals from your spares pile, not from the spread in front of you, and take the petal and then roll the right hand side over to the middle and curl it in under itself. And what we're trying to achieve is a little cone shape with a point at one end and an opening at the bottom. Once we've achieved that, we want to put a little bit of the wallpaper paste just inside the cone and insert our wooden stem. Pinch it at the bottom and then take your sewing thread and just wrap it around the bottom of the petal and keep winding very tightly together until you've just hit the wooden stem. At this point we need to add a little blob of wallpaper paste onto each of the petals that are in front of us. And then picking up your stem again, we will take the first petal from the bottom row. Hold your stem so that the petal that's on it has the curl facing towards the top. Place the first petal from the bottom row directly behind it so that it lines up with the bottom of the petal that's already on the stem. Squeeze it together and then wrap the thread around 2 or 3 times to secure that in place. The next petal we want to place directly opposite this one where the opening is. We'll line up the bottom of the petals, give it a squeeze and twist the thread 2 or 3 times. For the next petal, and for all of the other petals in front of us, what we want to do is add the new petal, the middle of the new petal, with the very edge of the previous petal. And again, wrap 2 or 3 times with the thread. Keep adding all of the rest of the petals in this way, aligning the middle of the new petal with the very edge of the previous petal. When you've added the last petal, pull the thread a bit tighter and then wind it closely together until you reach the wooden stem. Once you've reached the wooden stem, continue winding the thread down, hold it in place with your finger, snip it off, and then paste some wallpaper paste all the way down the thread and around the bunchy bit underneath the rose. So the rose looks a little bit squished at this stage, so what we want to do is just gently tease the petals open with our fingertips. And we want them just nicely spaced out so that none of them are too close to each other. Once you're happy, put it to one side to dry. So making the leaves for the Darcy Rose is very, very simple. You just need to cut out a template for leaf template number 1, and then you can cut that out of paper or card, and then you can just snip the little notches in around the sides, and that's good to go. It's as simple as that. So that's the easiest leaf to put on a flower. So what we need to do is to just bind the stem with some florist tape. Hold it over the edge or the bottom of the stick, fold it down, and then twist it around on itself so it catches itself, and then you can very simply wind the florist tape up the stem. Once you're just at the underside of the rose, snip off about 5 centimeters or so. And then using some PVA glue, we want to apply it all around the bunchy bit and along the florist tape. And then simply continue winding the florist tape. It may fold around on itself, that's totally fine. Squeeze it very slightly, keep twisting between your fingertips, and that will hold the florist tape in place. So all that's left to do is to attach the single leaf. So put some of the high tack glue on the lower portion of the leaf, and I'm going to place the leaf so it's poking out about, what's that, 3 centimeters? That is the Darcy Rose completed. And yeah, do give me a thumbs up if you've made it this far. Your support is most gratefully received. And yeah, check out my other tutorials if you'd like to learn how to make some different arrangements.